Hello, my name is Kendra Hughes and I'm with the Northwest Regional ESD. I've put together a short little video clip to tell you a little bit about the Early Literacy Network that we will be launching in the fall of 2021. So the goals of the network are to discuss research related to learning to read and write and how schools are critical to creating conditions and experiences that allow children to develop a sound literacy foundation. We want to examine the essential skills for teaching, reading, brain science, and other inclusive instructional practices that support early readers and how different supports for some readers might be critical to their success. We'll be discussing the role of parents, home, and community in supporting early literacy, and discussing lots of promising practices related to learning practices, learning environments, family engagement, home language supports, and other dynamics that foster the acquisition of literacy in our littles. So some research and strategies that we've been looking at are the foundational reading standards. We'll be talking about those. We'll be examining reading comprehension, conversations around fluency, decoding, language comprehension, all of those elements. We know that because of the pandemic and the fact that we've been in a virtual setting for the majority of the last year and a half of schooling, that we're going to have to spend some time doing some formative assessments. So in doing that, we want to engage in an ongoing formative assessment cycle as a critical component in providing support to early readers that foster an equitable outcome for every student. And we'll be paying particular attention to our historically underserved students, our students who are experiencing poverty, students who are experiencing other dynamics that are hindering their academic success or fluency in literacy. So we know many of our conversations will be starting there. Some other considerations for the work are we won't be sharing, this is the best way to teach reading using this model. We're not going to be supporting model, but identifying what are the resources out there that we can incorporate into lesson planning and delivery to help children develop the skills to become fluent readers. So emergent literacy knowledge areas, what are those? We'll be talking about the 5 essential components of reading. At the heart of the work of the Early Literacy Network is the Oregon Equity Lens. And in my work and using my equity lens, I am mindful of always being centering my work around the needs of our learners and teachers and our family members and our communities. So in the Early Literacy Network, we're going to be looking at the lesson planning process. We're going to be looking at the impact on eliminating the achievement, opportunity, and belief gaps. Eliminating barriers to more equitable outcomes for each student. How are we involving stakeholders? How are we ensuring each learner and the communities that they come from, how are we considering those needs, cultural needs, being culturally responsive in our practices? We'll be using data to inform some of the decisions that the teams use. And then lastly, looking at training and development in culturally sustaining pedagogies and practices. So we'll be weaving all of those dynamics into the network for the teams that will be participating. For those that are new to the to the Professional Learning Network, we use the improvement science, the continuous improvement process, which is the improvement science model. And there's a little graphic on your screen, and we basically want to map the system that produces the problem that it creates. So this is a very user-centered approach to looking at problems of practice from the perspective of a classroom teacher, or for us, it's less about the students because our students are too little, but more about the system. We'll be looking at a root cause analysis. Why is this a problem? And I'll walk through the teams through this process to the point where they'll get to the disciplined rapid cycles of inquiry. So what does that look like? How are they going to elevate a change idea to determine a different strategy they want to use in the classroom to see if it will help change outcomes for the littles related to literacy? Etc. So more information will be provided there for the networks, for the teams that are involved in the network. The work is grounded for those of you that were assisted in the ESD, the development of our strategic plan. We're on collective commitment 3, establishing high expectations for achievement and personal growth for every student. So the work is centering here. The Oregon equity lens, how we're talking about students, how we're working with our families, is grounded in what we hope to accomplish next year. So here's a little bit more information to help you decide whether or not you want to participate. So the structure of the teams can be the following: 2 to 3 teachers, 1 parent, other networks. If you have other grade levels that are involved in a different network, they might have a student, but because of the age of our students, we want to bring on a parent into the discussion, 1 to 2 administrators, and then a community member. This is optional, but we've had one team have a member of the Head Start community involved, and that's worked really well for them because all of those Head Start children come into that elementary school. So just that connection between the preschool experience and kinder experience has been really valuable for students. So here are the commitments that we ask for teams. Attend 4 convenings. Your school or district is responsible for expenses. All of the events initially through February of 22 will be virtual. So in a different space, it would be face-to-face convenings typically held at the Washington Service Center in Hillsborough. And your team or your district would cover expenses for travel, so like your mileage. Schools would have to cover subs, and I have had conversations with some districts around sub shortage concerns. So we are, having these questions. So you don't have to do a definitive yes, we're in, or no, we're not because of, but if you have questions, let me help you navigate that space. Then in between convenings, there will be monthly team meetings where I will work with your district in going deeper in your problem of practice, getting you to, through that root cause analysis, creating that driver diagram, basically your roadmap to the process where you're going to try to test some few ideas. Maybe through this process, you'll conduct some empathy interviews with families, conduct some different research dynamics to elevate those small change ideas. And they're small and they're frequent, and I'll explain that. We would hope that you demonstrate a willingness to fail forward quickly and improve fast with a focus on equity and inclusion. Share learning across the network. One of the incredible outcomes of the work of the Professional Learning Network for the various networks that are involved is just the sharing that's happening. We're learning from each other and improving outcomes for students and families. So that's been really, really nice. And then lastly, we hope that you would provide transparent feedback to the ESD. This work is for you and about you, so your feedback helps us get better at getting better, another improvement science term. So here's the calendar. We have a convening in September. In early September, I'll be meeting with team leads to create that team structure, answer questions that they might have about who should be on the team, etc. We'll have a convening at the end of September. We'll do coaching in October and November. Those are those meetings that I just discussed. We'll have a convening in early December, coaching in January, convening in February, coaching in March, convening in April, coaching in May and June. With the goal, at the end of the year, you will examine the various change ideas or theories you've tested to decide what changes you would like to make in the coming year. So that's a little bit of how we will go forward, as we're all hoping that we're remote, not remote, we're face-to-face in the fall. We know we won't be able to have gatherings in the fall, so we'll be virtual. And then once we get into 22 and start thinking about face-to-face opportunities, we'll look to OHA guidelines for large gatherings, et cetera, and make that decision. So, and your voice will be included in that decision-making process. Something exciting to share, our new colleague, Darlene Geddes. Dr. Darlene Geddes is our early literacy TOSA. Darlene will be joining us on July 1. She is very excited to get to help and work with all of you, or be a partner with all of you as we're working and having conversations around early literacy skill building for the littles. So Darlene will start July 1, and I look forward to introducing her to you all in September. So now what? At this point, I only need to know if you're interested. If you like what you've heard and you are curious, have some questions, of course, feel free to contact me. I can share a little bit more information with you. That link on the page is to an infographic. I can email that to you, and you might want to present it, say, to your curriculum and development team, or to your director of CNI, to, just whoever those players are to help make that decision. So right now, only interest. Then I'll circle back to folks before the end of the year, so within the next few weeks, to see if we're set, if you had any other questions coming up, and then we'll reconnect in the fall to start the process of getting everyone ready, teams confirmed, and starting work in September. Thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Kendra Hughes. My email address is there on the screen. Please feel free to email me if you have questions, comments, etc. Wonderings. If you are interested, just send me an email. Yes, I'm interested. If you think you might be interested, you can email me that as well. Yeah, Kendra, I think so, not quite sure. If you're a no, let me know. Then I won't continue to reach out to you to see if you're interested. But again, this work is for and about you. It's an honor to work with schools in our ESD service area. This is our 3rd year of the Professional Learning Network, and I'm just excited to get started again and get it going for the littles. So thank you everyone for your time and attention today, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.